It does not matter how the relationship ended, you can still win the breakup. But if you want to win the breakup, it's really important to be clear about who is it that you're competing with. Because in order to win the breakup, and what that really means is you're not competing with your ex. You are competing with yourself. This is not to necessarily be better than them or beat them coming from this ego place. It's about making sure that you are winning in the situation for yourself. The losing version of losing the breakup would be you decide to do nothing. You decide to sink into a very deep hole that you can't get yourself out of, and you believe that you will never be loved again, that you're not worthy of love. Whatever it is, that is losing the breakup. But just because, let's say, you continue, you move on, you're working on yourself, and just because you're still single, that doesn't mean you lost the breakup. Just because you are not in a new relationship and maybe they're dating somebody new, that doesn't mean you lost. Because if they have decided to jump into a new relationship, they're rebounding or they're avoiding their emotions, they're the ones losing in the end. Because at the end of the day, they're never going to be able to create a real healthy, connected relationship. Hello, everyone. Just want to say hi. If you guys have questions, leave them in the comments. So the competition, again, is not with your ex. The competition, there's really no true competition, but the measure of winning is about how you develop with yourself. So are you going to stay the same, or are you going to continue to grow and move beyond this and end all of the old unhealthy patterns and unhealthy cycles that attracted you to this emotionally unavailable person in the first place? So view the relationship as like a training ground for you. Even though the relationship ended, there are so many lessons that you can take from it to be able to create the actually healthy relationship that you desire. How did you show up in conflict? How did they show up in conflict? Were you able to express your needs and your boundaries, or did you suppress them and you allowed this other person to walk all over you? What is it that you learned from this experience that you can take into the next relationship? Do you have more clarity over what you want? Do you have more clarity over what you don't want? Johnny G says, why does a girl that I have history with keep tabs even years after not speaking? I'm not sure why your relationship ended, but it's probably because she still has some sort of desire for you or values you in some way. I'm not sure exactly what happened in the relationship, if you broke up with her or if she broke up with you, or what you're looking for from that situation. But just be aware that just because she's keeping tabs on you, and also I would want to know more about how she's keeping tabs on you. Just because she's keeping tabs on you doesn't mean that she's going to take action and actually speak up and express her desire, if there is a desire, to have a relationship. Bazooka, you're a beautiful woman. Thank you so much. P says, I crossed a boundary this morning and went through her phone. Is there any way to repair this mistrust? That's a tough one. So is there conflict in the relationship already? What led you to want to sneak through her phone? First, you need to take very clear accountability for your actions. Don't lie and pretend you weren't, or pretending that you were only looking for something else or checking the time. Just take accountability for what you did. Tell her what was going through your head with that, your plan for not doing that, acknowledging her feelings around maybe feeling betrayed or feeling like her privacy was exposed, and really acknowledge how she's feeling about the situation as well, and then ideally come up with a plan together to address this kind of situation in the future. Why were you what insecurity was coming up that made you feel like you needed to go through her phone? There was probably some action or behavior that was coming up in the relationship that made you distrustful towards her, or maybe you have a history of having been cheated on or just being super jealous in the relationship. Where is that coming from? Is it because there was something insecure within the relationship, or is it more a personal insecurity? And from there, then you can start figuring out, okay, how do we heal this so that it doesn't come up again? and create a plan. I typically recommend, as far as phone usage, like if you don't want to be fully open with your phones, then I think it is important to be able to ask the other person if there is something that you want to see, to create that level of safety where like there you can both talk to each other, you can both open about what's in there, but to also respect that they are private things, and maybe there's personal notes in there that they don't necessarily want you to see, not because they're hiding something that would be dangerous to the relationship, but just because it's something that they don't want to expose right now towards you. So create a plan. If there's something that you do want to talk about or see, ask instead of just snooping, and come up with a way that's going to work for both of you. Okay, let me scroll back up to find the other questions and comments. Mayonnaise Milk says, how about soft contact with an avoidant ex to get back together? Soft contact, that's a new one. I've never heard of that one. But I would not recommend soft contact, especially with an avoidant ex, because avoidantly attached people, they need that space to be able to miss you. They need that space to be able to regulate back into their own nervous system and feel calm. The reason that they may have left the relationship suddenly is because their nervous system started getting activated. They got into the fight or flight mode, and that they may have left the relationship suddenly is because their nervous system started getting activated. They got into the fight or flight mode to pull back and get away. So that space is actually really important for them to regulate. So I would recommend not doing soft contact, especially because that's also going to be very hard for you to heal and work on yourself and put your focus back onto rebuilding your life rather than focusing on them and making sure that they're still interested or that they want to get back with you. So I would not recommend that overall. Ultimately, I don't think you will get what you want. If you want to get back together, the best way to do that is actually to go fully no contact, to work on the detachment, detaching from them, detaching from the outcome of the relationship, and truly start working on your own anxious tendencies. And that is what typically brings them back in, and you become a healthier, more secure version of yourself, which is the most important thing. Okay. P says, we are going through a breakup. I'm trying to fix things, but I keep crossing boundaries. Okay, so why do you keep crossing these boundaries? Because there's something inside of you that is making you super anxious, and that's the part that has to be regulated and healed. Oh, also to the mayonnaise one, I do have a totally free no contact emergency kit. It's linked on my page, so I recommend getting that. It'll help you a lot to maintain no contact, because I promise you that's going to be the best thing. So P, you're going through a breakup. I'm trying to fix things, but I keep crossing boundaries. So my recommendation, I think the no contact emergency kit is also going to be helpful for you, is to learn how to regulate yourself, because there's something that is activating you that is beyond your better judgment, because you probably know that you shouldn't be crossing these boundaries. You know that you shouldn't be snooping through her phone, but something inside of you is getting activated, is feeling super anxious and making you feel like you have to do these things, and it almost feels like it's beyond your control. And that's because you're being driven by your nervous system, you're being driven by your subconscious fears, and that's making you act out in ways that are ultimately hurting this relationship even more. And when you can work on those and actually regulate and come from a more grounded place, she will feel safer and she will be more attracted to you, and you'll be able to work through what issues are coming up in this relationship. Johnny G says, viewing previous girlfriend's social media, talking to mutuals. Okay, sorry, I forgot the first thing that you said earlier already. Oh, that is very random. I mean, she might be interested. I'm not sure what your history is with her, but yeah, she might be interested, or she's jealous and comparing. I can't really say exactly, but why is that important to you? What does that matter to you? Do you want to be with this woman? Are you trying to boost your own ego? What is it that this information is doing for you? How to move on, Blue Heart. How to move on. So I have a lot of stuff on this on my YouTube page, but first, go no contact completely. I highly recommend that. Again, I have a free no contact emergency kit and a no contact survival guide on my page. That's where you need to start, because as long as you're trying to stay connected to this person, even if you're not messaging them or calling them, but you're looking at old pictures, you're tracking their social media, you're looking to see if they are viewing your stories on social media or liking your posts, all of that is keeping you connected to them. And it's keeping your brain addicted to this cycle of dopamine and hoping that they are going to come back to you, and also viewing them as better than yourself. Even if it's subconsciously, because when you're putting yourself in the position to want to be chosen or trying to perform in order to get this person to like you or make sure that this person is still interested in you, that's when things start to get unhealthy. And it keeps you hooked into this unhealthy cycle. So that's the first part. The next part is, I think you need to get really clear on what it is that you want, what didn't work in this relationship. Because so many times when you're in a relationship, you don't see things clearly. You make excuses for people because you are super empathetic or caring. You understand their trauma. You might be super emotionally intelligent and aware, and you make excuses when really they don't deserve these excuses. So get very clear on how they treated you, what happened, what were the red flags that you ignored, were there orange flags, yellow flags, and start to see that and compare, is this truly the type of person that I want to be in a relationship with? Or did I tolerate way more than I ever should have? And do I deserve much more than this? And I don't know what happened, but if it was a toxic relationship, I'm going to say that you very much probably do deserve way more than what you accepted in that relationship, especially if you are the kind that always wants to be a good person and is always giving other people the benefit of the doubt. You probably deserve so much more. So just getting really clear on what happened and what you do desire, that's going to be a good starting place. And I could tell you more depending on what actually happened in the relationship. Francis says, this woman translates what I say. I have no idea what that means. Kid of the 90s. Yeah, seriously. Ty Griffin says, I broke up with my girl as over text. She said suddenly without warning they needed a break. I broke up with my girl. They needed a break. Okay, well, I think... I'm not sure if that's a question, but if there is a question, let me know. Sarcastic, I absolutely would love to help you in love. Let me just see where the questions are. And the whole thing reloaded, so give me one sec. So many comments, you all. I broke up with my girl over text. She said suddenly without warning they needed a break 2 months ago. No answer. Move on. I would say, especially if this person suddenly disappeared, focus on yourself. As long as you're pining for them, they're not going to want to come back, and it's just going to keep you stuck in this mode of feeling like you were discarded or not enough. A lot of times those thoughts, those limiting beliefs of I'm not worthy of love, I'm not deserving, if I had done this or that better, I would have been able to keep this person, or they would have been able to change for me. And none of those thoughts actually help you. So really what you need to do is get to the root of why you have those beliefs and start changing them from the source, and getting in that like positive mindset of believing that this is serving you in some way. You are supposed to learn a lesson from this experience so that you can become a better partner and actually create the relationship that you desire. Hot Soup 99 says, how do I get my needs met when my partner is neglecting the relationship? If your partner is neglecting the relationship and is not showing up, you're trying to ask for your needs to be met, you're expressing them, there could be two different things. One is that the way that you're expressing your needs or the way that you're communicating is creating a lot of defensiveness in them. Maybe they're reaching shutdown where they feel like they're being criticized. And if you're coming at them from a very accusatory place, that puts them automatically into more of a defensive mode, and then they're not going to be receptive to what it is that you want. So that could be one reason why that's happening. Number two, if you are coming from a more kind, open, loving place, trying to get your needs met, but they keep neglecting the relationship, you can't keep asking this person who has shown you time and time again that they aren't willing to or are unable to meet your needs, you can't continue to give them chances. You can't continue to basically allow yourself to get broken down in the process of that, because you want them to be able to show up in a way that they simply can't or won't show up. So the best thing for you to do, if you really want your needs to be met, is to end the relationship, do some personal healing, and find a partner who will be able to meet those needs. And also really dig deep into, are these needs things that I should be able to give myself, or are they more like relational needs where it's something that needs to be created between both of you? Okay, broke no contact with my fearful avoidant, but he ignored it, but keeps watching my stories, says Beauty. That's just a breadcrumb. JV, what age range of women should my 42-year-old brother date? What age range? I would say 30 at the youngest, and it could be, I don't know, up to 50 maybe for a woman. Just depends, but I would say 30 at the youngest. Lizeth says, just left a 12-year relationship. How do I cope? How can I heal? It's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take processing. It's going to come with a lot of emotions, and that's okay. The best thing to do is do not ignore your emotions. Do not try to cover up, and don't just try to cope. Coping indicates that you're using something else to avoid the feelings. That might be just scrolling social media all day. That might be drinking, partying, sleeping around with other people, going on dates just to distract yourself from the pain. So those are all negative coping mechanisms. There are ways to help soothe the anxiety, the sadness, the grief that comes up. One of my favorites is tapping, EFT tapping. So that is a technique that is based in Chinese medicine, because you're tapping on like 10 different points on the body, which is stimulating acupressure points. So it helps to calm the nervous system and release any emotions that your body is holding on to. So it could be anger, it could be fear, it could be grief, any of those emotions. EFT can help you release those things, and it can also help you get into a regulated state so that you can actually start to attract the relationship that you do want. Now, with a 12-year relationship, I also wouldn't recommend jumping into something new very quickly. Really do the inner work and allow yourself to be alone for a little while, because you likely have lost some sense of who you are as an individual since you've been with this person for so long. So go try new things. Discover what are things that you've always wanted to do, or what's something that you have been nervous or afraid of doing but you would like to do. Maybe it's something small, like just going out to eat by yourself, or going out to a bar and just talking to strangers just for fun to make friends. Whatever it is, start doing those small things, because over time you'll actually build up that sense of confidence and worthiness, because you're showing yourself that you can do hard things or do scary or challenging things. And then you're going to feel even better about yourself, because you were able to do something that scared you and survive. You were okay. Even if, let's say, you go out and you're like, I'm gonna go make a new girlfriend or male friend, whatever, at this fun event, and you go and you try to talk to people, and maybe you don't hit it off with anybody, right? But you went. That's the point. The point is that you took the action. You did something scary by putting yourself out there, by wanting to meet new people. And even if you didn't make your best friend that night, you were able to do something that was challenging for you. And so you can at least be proud of that. Robert says, how long should no contact be before it becomes too long? I don't think no contact is ever too long. It depends on what your goals are, because no contact isn't just to get somebody back. No contact is for you to be able to heal. So when do you think no contact should end? My personal belief, and this is also in my no contact survival guide, is that no contact ends when you no longer feel any attachment towards your ex or the relationship. So if you are completely fine whether or not you see their picture, or whether or not you hear from them, or if you were to message them and get absolutely no response or a negative response, you wouldn't care either way, you're fully detached, that's when no contact can end. So really, no contact is a way to neutralize and detach. I unfortunately thought Bobby Calhoun says, the girl I used to talk to came back after a month of no contact and she just wants to be friends. Okay, so if she just wants to be friends and you want to be more than friends, you should probably continue no contact. Beauty says, I broke no contact with my fearful avoidant, but he ignored it, but keeps watching my stories. Oh yeah, I think you mentioned that earlier. Again, breadcrumb. Hamdi says, is it a mistake if we have fear losing our partner? What do you mean by have fear losing them? Losing them to somebody else? Losing them from being your romantic partner? Of them dying? It's normal to have, well, I'd say if there's the impending fear of death, yeah, that's sad. That's pretty normal. You don't want that person to leave. It depends on how intense this fear is, because there can be some sadness or there's some sadness around if the person were to leave, but if this fear is then manifesting as negative behaviors or traits that are hurting the relationship, that's when it's bad. Anna says, should I break up with my girl because she hits me? Yes, probably. That sounds like abuse. LA Cat Bobby Calhoun says, she says she doesn't feel we'd be together in the future or anytime soon and that we don't work. Okay, so again, if you want something more and she doesn't, unless you're okay being friends with her, then you probably should not maintain any contact or be friends with her. If you have romantic feeling towards her, you're going to want to at least take some time and space before trying to be friends. LA Cat says, what is your doctoral dissertation on? I didn't do a doctoral dissertation because I went to medical school, naturopathic medical school. Bobby Calhoun, but she misses me and still has feelings. Oh, okay. Well, then in that case, I don't think you should be friends at all because there's blurred lines and boundaries. She's saying that she doesn't want a relationship, and it sounds like she will probably end up toying with you in a way, maybe not intentionally, but probably flirting or maybe making comments that make you think that there's a chance when she knows there's not a chance. Even if she does have some attraction, then it's going to end up hurting you in the long run. All right, let me see what other questions. I have a question. 22 Ashley, drop it in the chat. Okay, this all reloaded again. But anyways, I want to come back to this idea of winning the breakup. If you want to win the breakup, do not speak down on your ex. I don't care that if they did bad things, you can talk about the hurtful behavior, but just bagging on them, speaking negatively about them, what does that actually do for you? How does that actually serve you in any way? Because the competition isn't about being better than them. The competition is about being the best version of you. So this person you once loved and you were the one that tolerated their behavior. So if you're just saying that all men are trash or all women are trash and you don't think anyone is worthy of love anymore and you just want to give up, how does that help anybody? So it doesn't. And if you want to actually grow and win this breakup, you need to reflect on your behavior and how you showed up in this relationship and what is the relationship or what happened in the relationship. How is that reflecting back on you? How is that reflecting what you still need to work on and what you still need to heal? That's where you actually learn the lesson, and that's how you start to actually win the breakup. And if you are the kind that just wants to sit around in your room and do nothing and be sad, that's when you're losing the breakup. You're losing to yourself and your own pain. But when you can transform that pain into something good and start feeding into all of the other areas in your life, that's when you start to win. When you start to be even more successful than you were in your relationship, that's how you know you're winning. Whether that is you're getting better at your hobbies, or you're doing more hobbies, or you're deepening your relationships with your friends or your family members, or maybe you're making more money, or you started a side business, or you're exercising more, or you're eating healthier, all of those are wins. So just because maybe you're not in a relationship yet, or it looks like your ex has moved on, it doesn't mean that they're doing any better just because they have somebody by them side, or just because they look busy. What actually makes you be better and feel like you're winning is when you're building up your own life, on the outside and on the inside. Geez, these messages reloaded so much that it's so hard to find where I was. So I'm just gonna start where I am now. So 22 Ashley says, so I got physically abused by her 2 years ago and don't know if I should stay because she changed. Because she changed. I don't know what you mean, if she changed for the better or for the worse. But if somebody has physically abused you, I would never ever recommend staying with them. Even if they say that they won't ever do it again, they already have a history of it, and it's just a dangerous situation to be in. And I'm very, very sorry that you have gone through that, and there are a lot of resources to help you through that. But again, I'm just going to recommend not continuing with that relationship. Bobby Calhoun says, she says we don't work and can't be together, but says she still has feelings. Do I have a chance? She's listened to what she's saying about her saying that it's not going to work, because you're ultimately going to, again, hurt yourself. Tess says, why do I get rejected from girl even if they smile at first and I get compliments for my looks? So if you're getting rejected, even if she's attracted to you and is interested in you in the first place, there could be a lot of reasons. One could be the biggest one I would say is actually just your energy. There's a lot of different ways that your energy could be sending different messages to this woman. If your energy is coming off as desperate or needy, that's going to be repelling to the woman. If your energy is coming off where maybe you just want to be with her physically, she's going to pick up on that and then not be interested in that. If your energy is maybe coming off as super cocky or in your head, or even overly analytical or super shy, then she might not be attracted to those things as well. So it could be a lot of different things depending on how you show up and approach women. And the best thing is to be truly grounded in yourself. This is beyond just the idea of be yourself, because nobody likes that. That sounds like so superficial. But what it is you need to know who you are and back who you are fully. A lot of people don't actually understand who they truly are because we've built so many walls and adaptive mechanisms to try to keep us safe. So we try to perform and be impressive and do things that we think other people will like from us. And we believe that what the personality, the persona, or the character that we've created is us, when really our true self is underneath all of that. So when people say to be yourself, most people end up performing who they think they are rather than being who you actually are. And that's why it's important that you do a lot of inner work to figure out exactly who that is. And that, when you're coming from that really grounded, authentic place, being confident in who you are and backing yourself up no matter what from a true place of security, that is very attractive and magnetic, whether you are a man or a woman. Cedric says, what does my avoidant ex still want? Why does my avoidant ex still want to stay close friends and text daily? Because your avoidant ex wants to keep access to you without the additional commitment and vulnerability and intimacy required from a romantic relationship. They don't want the responsibility. They don't want to feel like they are responsible for your emotions. They don't want to be responsible for how they show up, and they just want to maintain the access and get all of the benefits of being close to you without actually being committed and showing up in the way that you need and actually respecting what it is that you need from a romantic partner. Okay. She said, okay, Bobby Calhoun sending the same message many times here, so I gotta scroll past again because I think I answered it. Dante, what can you say about visceral disgust in relationships? Does that go away from the partner felt with? Okay, I want to know more about what you mean by visceral disgust. When somebody, if you're talking about icks, ick is a form of disgust in a way. I think anyone can have an ick, but if somebody's truly interested in you and truly loves you or is attracted to you or values you as a person, even if you've done something that is an ick, it's not going to affect the way that they view you overall. For somebody who is truly interested, they're not going to be turned off by that. I promise there have been many times for many women and men where there's an ick and they don't care. Sometimes those icks are just even more adorable in some ways. Visceral disgust. If there is disgust in a relationship, that is a very strong and extreme emotion. And I usually recommend, if you're trying to get over a relationship, to start being disgusted at whatever negative behavior or treatment you accepted. So disgust at the behavior, and even, this is just a starting place, some disgust at the fact that you accepted that, because that's what actually helps you move and change to no longer accept that anymore and to be extremely turned off by that behavior so that you can see what it is that you actually want. So disgust is a very strong emotion, and if somebody is feeling that way, especially if it's recurrent and ongoing, I don't believe that a good relationship will be able to continue from there. Bobby Calhoun, let me know if I answered your question, because I think I have. 22 Ashley, oh, same question again. Dubai Matcha says, what are your honest thoughts on dating a coworker? We have good chemistry and in different departments. That's tricky, because I know a lot of people that have been in relationships with coworkers and then have broken up, and it's been very challenging. And generally, it's not good to mix romantic relationships with work where you're getting your money. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Michael Wood says, I have disorganized attachment and my wife is dismissive avoidant. Lots of work done here daily. Very good, as long as you're both working on that. Ebere says, how am I in a great relationship but always assume the worst will happen? I'm an anxious attachment. Well, because you have an anxious attachment style, you're typically going to fear and expect the worst. And it's really important that you work on those subconscious fears, because if your subconscious is believing that something bad is going to happen, one, it's going to start to manifest in your reality, very likely because you're going to start having more thoughts and beliefs that that's true, and your behavior will change because of that. And your brain filters based off of your beliefs. So if you believe that somebody, let's say they don't love you as much as you think or want them to, you're going to start seeing their behavior, even if it's completely neutral, there's nothing to it, as being negative towards you or not as strong, or you're going to look for evidence that they don't love you or like you as much as you desire, and that's ultimately going to create more anxiety and hurt your relationship further. So I highly recommend working on the inner beliefs that are driving that anxiety, and also working with the body. You absolutely need to work with your nervous system in order to release the fear and anxiety that's coming up. Otherwise, it just stays in your head, and that's not how you actually heal. Maybe you understand things differently. Maybe you can intellectualize and think through processes a little better, which can be helpful, but it doesn't actually release the triggers and the fears and the wounds that your body is holding on to. That's how you actually move from anxious attachment towards secure, is you're not just changing your mindset, you're changing your whole being. That's what I help my clients with. So if you do want to go further with that, you can apply for coaching on my page or just book a breakthrough coaching session. Designs by Rose says, my ex texted me to be friends. I shot it down and then posted catch flight not feelings. Okay. I don't know where you're trying to go with that. But as far as that, I don't love the saying of catch flights, not feelings, because it's a form of avoidance. And most people don't like to hear that because most people don't like to be called out for their avoidance of their own emotions. But if you actually want to change your dating and love patterns, you need to recognize where you're avoiding yourself. That's the only way that you're actually going to get through and be able to create those healthy relationships. Because as long as you're avoiding your own feelings, you're going to continue to attract people and partners who are unable to show up for your feelings as well. So if you want someone who is more emotionally available and can hold you in the way that you need to be able to hold yourself in that way. Because if you believe that your feelings aren't valid, then you're going to find and attract and be a magnet towards somebody else who is going to confirm that belief for you. And because you don't believe your emotions are valid and worthy of being cared for, then you're going to accept somebody else who doesn't show up in that way as well. Adil says, how to know when you are taken for granted? So that comes from, is there reciprocity in the relationship? Reciprocity doesn't mean exact tit for tat, I did this, you did that. But it's reciprocity in energy, at least, especially because things can be different between a masculine energy and a feminine energy. The masculine is very much a doer, a go-getter, a pursuer, whereas the feminine is going to be more receptive, and she is going to show up and bring energy in a different way than the masculine does. But if you feel like you're being taken for granted, I recommend having a conversation about this. Maybe you are suppressing what you need in the relationship, and maybe this other person isn't even aware that you have these certain needs or that they're neglecting you in certain ways, and they would love to show up in that way. But if you don't communicate what it is that you desire and you're always overgiving, eventually you probably will feel like you're being taken for granted, and you are going to feel neglected and resentful. But ultimately, that is going to be on you if you never express what it is that you desire. If your partner is also never grateful or thankful for the things that you do, it's very normal for you to feel like you're being taken for granted. So again, look at the energy. How are they responding to you? How are they showing up to the relationship? Are they wanting to be a better partner for you? Are they wanting to grow and work on the relationship and keep it healthy? That's how you know that they're invested. And if they're not doing any of those things, especially after you've brought them up, then they're probably taking advantage of you in some way. Designs by Rose says, my ex texted me to be friends. I shot it down and then posted. Okay. Alan says, what does it mean after a few... Oh no, it reloaded. After a few days of breakup, she goes to follow her ex. That means that she was keeping them on the back burner. She wants to either rebound on them or has always still maintained feelings for their ex. And that is not something that I would recommend going back to. Amanda says, if he wants to marry me, but he's my first love. I'm not sure what the problem is with that. Are you unsure if you want to marry him? Do you want to date other people? Are you not sure of what you want? If you're unsure of what you want, or you want to have other experiences first, then I would recommend getting clear on why it is that you want those things. What are you hoping to experience from dating other people? If you are truly in love with him and you have a great, healthy relationship, what is it that you feel like you're missing by staying with him, by getting married to him? And also consider, it sounds like you might be young since he's your first love, so you don't have to rush into marriage. You don't have to get married by 20 years old. You can wait a little bit and continue to grow into yourself and build your own sense of self-identity so that you truly are aware of what it is that you want and what's going to make you happy long term. And that's for both of you to be able to do that, because if you're unsure, you're going to grow and change and you might not grow together. So figure out what it is that you want and what are you hoping, or what do you believe you'll get from dating other people, if that's what you're considering. Caden Polites says, it's been 2.5 months since she broke up with me. What is she feeling as the dumper? 2.5 months. Well, it depends on how the relationship was, if she tended to be more of an avoidantly attached person or not. I'm not sure the dynamics in the relationship, but let's assume she was emotionally avoidant. And it's 2.5 months. She is probably starting to feel the loss now. She probably distracted herself a lot in the beginning. She probably felt some relief because there was a lot of pressure on her to show up and be a certain way and to be more vulnerable, and that was very scary for her. But at 2.5 months, she's probably thinking more about you and missing you, and just probably starting to have regrets. I would say 3 to 6 months is a very typical time for an emotionally avoidant person to want to come back, want to circle back. However, if the relationship was very different, if she was super unhappy in the relationship, she might still have sadness and longing and missing some of those good things. But if she felt like she wasn't getting her needs met, or felt like her boundaries weren't respected, or felt unheard in the relationship, she's probably feeling happier and more aligned in her life because she's finally getting that back. So it really depends on the dynamic of the relationship itself. Pistol 628 says, 1 month of no contact. We have a 2-year-old together and been together 5 years. Is it too late? 1 month of no contact. It's not too late. I would say it's definitely never too late, but it depends on who you are, how you showed up in the dynamic, and how they showed up in the dynamic. I don't even know if you're more of the masculine energy or the feminine energy, and I don't know what happened, but it's definitely possible to come back together, especially after only a month. But if you do come back together, you want to come back and rebuild the relationship stronger, which means address what happened in the past, address why it broke down. Because if you don't address those things, you're going to repeat the same pattern. Maybe not this week, but maybe in a month or 2 months. So many people want their ex back and think that that is the goal. And once they have that, everything's going to be rainbows and butterflies. But it won't happen that way if you never address the past, if you never create a new plan, because then you're just doing the same thing again. Forgot About You says, how to get a baddie. How to get a baddie? You show up as a healthy, grounded, masculine man. You know what you want. You have direction. You are disciplined. You have a healthy life. You take care of yourself. You're not acting out of ego. You see this person as a real human, not just a beautiful woman. And you care about her heart and her feelings. You act like a gentleman. You open doors. You pull out chairs. And she will probably see that as some of the best treatment she's ever had, depending on the kind of woman she is. Now, don't be a pushover. Also, be aware that if she hasn't done her healing and if she doesn't believe that she's worthy of good treatment, then she might try to self-sabotage. But you can be there and show her that you're there for her in a real way. And that will help you actually gain her trust and help her see that maybe she's had some unhealthy patterns in the past that need to be worked on. But everyone's journey is their own. You can't fix anybody. You can't control anybody. So you also need to be very aware of the kind of person she is. Is she ready for a healthy relationship? Because my guess is, if you're here, you want a healthy relationship. That's what I'm going to assume all my people want, is a healthy relationship. Who wants a toxic? Subconsciously, people want toxic relationships, but ultimately, we all just want to be loved, right? So get very clear on what it is that you want and need in relationships as well. And that's how you create something that's healthy and happy and sustaining for the long term. Designs by Ro, she posted it. Catch flights, not feelings. I see. Again, she's doing her own sort of avoidance thing. I'm not sure how your relationship ended. If you tended to be more of the avoidant one, it's also a reflection of her own avoidance. And she's trying to go live her best life. But ultimately, at the end of the day, She posted, catch flies, not feelings. She is a fearful avoidant. Yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not going to help her get any closer to the healthy relationship that she wants or that you want. It's not going to help her become more secure, because that's just another sign that she's avoiding herself. And whether she's a fearful avoidant or a dismissive avoidant, or she has an anxious attachment style, all of those avoid emotions in some way. Anxiously attached people, and me, formerly anxiously attached, avoid their emotions in a different way than an avoidant or fearful avoidant person does. The anxiously attached person, tends to neglect themselves, and they put all of their focus and energy on the more dismissive avoidant or sometimes fearful avoidant partner, because as long as they're managing their partner and making sure their partner loves them, then they don't have to face the sense of abandonment they feel inside from themselves. They don't have to face the pain and the hurt that they have because somebody from their past abandoned them before. And it ultimately has led them to repeat the abandonment patterns towards themselves, which is why they go for people and partners that can't show up for them, why they go for partners that will dismiss them or tell them they're being too much or too needy, or they're being overly sensitive and never validating their experience because they don't actually validate their own experience. Blake Tyler says, a girl keeps referring you to acting like their toxic ex. How do you reassure them? So it depends. What parts of you and the way that you're showing up is reminding them of their toxic ex? Is there any sense of truth to what they're saying about you and how you're showing up? Oh, I do have another meeting that's supposed to happen soon, so I hope it doesn't cut off. But I want to answer a few more questions before I go. Time Tipper Design says, hi, how are you? Hello, thank you. I'm doing well today. Lori Venegas says, it just reloaded, so let me scroll back up real quick. Lori Venegas says, my partner blocks me or stops talking to me when we get into an argument. That is extremely damaging and unhealthy, and I would not recommend staying with that person. I would recommend leaving and digging deep into yourself why you believe that that's okay for somebody to do. Some part of you probably believes that abandonment is okay because that's all you've known. Maybe your parents didn't show up for you, or you've had a history of toxic partners who would shut you out or give you the cold shoulder when there was conflict. That's not normal or healthy love. Okay? So I want you to recognize that you deserve so much better than what you're getting from this person. There are people that will sit down and have the conversation with you and want to work through it instead of shutting down and blocking you or giving you the silent treatment in order to manipulate you into being quiet, ignoring the problem, ignoring your needs, and just trying to pretend like it doesn't matter and trying not to make themselves seem like the bad guy. Both of these behaviors, whether it's more avoidance, shutdown, or anxious attachment, clinging, come from this fear of being seen and being abandoned for who you truly are. Now, this doesn't necessarily make them a horrible, terrible person, but probably not a very good partner for you. And well, not even say probably, objectively, not the best partner for you or anyone. Because if you can't show up to conflict, if you can't have healthy communication and healthy repair, how are you ever going to have a relationship? A relationship happens between two individual people. You can't read each other's minds, so you have to be able to communicate. And if one person can't do that, then you're just left in the dark, and it's a relationship with only one person. It becomes one-sided, and it becomes very painful and hurtful. So what part of you believes that it's okay to be neglected in this way? Time Tipper Design says, what if your partner minimizes their friends, treating them awfully as well as me? You treating them awfully? if their partner minimizes their friends treating them bad, oh, and treating you bad, I'm guessing, they probably don't have the, we'll just say, balls to actually show up and talk to their friends and be honest about their friends' behavior. They aren't protecting you in this situation, and they certainly aren't protecting themselves because they don't love themselves enough, and they are seeking the approval of their friends over your and their own sense of self-respect. And ultimately, that's not going to be a good, healthy partner to stick with, because if they can't show up for you or themselves, if they can't show up for themselves, how are they going to show up for you? And if they can't show up for you now in this situation, there's going to be other situations in which they need to protect you. Because ultimately, whether you're a man or a woman, you do need to protect your partner to a certain degree. You need to protect the relationship and honor and respect it in order for it to be healthy and lasting. But if they can't do that, they're allowing your relationship to be open and susceptible to the pain and damage from outside forces. And that might end up being a reason why it doesn't work out in the long term. Grab Food Delivery says, is that why I can't get women? Because I objectify them? Yes, that is why. Mig, I'm an avoidant and going to therapy. I was with my anxious 4.5 years. We are 3 months no contact. Oh, amazing. I'm so glad you're going to therapy. You're realizing what you have and what you need to work on in order to have a healthy relationship. When you do break no contact, if you want this relationship back, I definitely recommend you have done the work. You will take accountability. You will acknowledge their feelings. You will acknowledge your part. You will have a plan for how you're going to move forward, and you're going to continue to work through your patterns, because it's one thing to talk about it and another thing to actually change in how you show up. It's another thing to change your subconscious beliefs, your idea of who you are and your identity, your nervous system, because when you're in that fight mode, when you're in conflict, you're not thinking from your logical brain. You're thinking from the amygdala, the fear center of your brain that gets activated in fight or flight. So you're not trying to shut down on your partner. You're not trying to make them feel bad or feel alone. It's your automatic safety response or defense mechanism to keep yourself safe. So if you don't work on that part, even when you have all of the intention to continue to show up for them, when your prefrontal cortex, that logical thinking part of your brain, shuts down during a fight because you're in fight or flight mode, you can't help it. So it's really important you work with your body and your nervous system so that these patterns change for good, for the long term. And when you do go back, make sure you've gone back with all the things that I just said, and you have changed enough so that you're not going to keep repeating the pattern, at least right now. You don't have to be perfect, but so you don't keep repeating the pattern or show up and not validate her, because that's ultimately going to push her further away and hurt your chances of being a relationship in the long term. Steven says, but the better I treat my girlfriend, the worse she treats me. Well, then take your energy back. Stop treating her so well. I did not say treat her badly. I just said stop treating her so well. Maybe have a conversation about why she's treating you so badly, and also why are you allowing yourself to be treated so poorly, and what part of you believes that maybe you have to save this woman or that you deserve to be treated bad, and then overcompensating by maybe treating them better because you feel like if you do more, then you will finally earn her love, earn her reciprocation. Maybe she'll treat you better. But that's ultimately going to keep you attracting the same type of woman and be unhappy in relationships. Ricky Bronson says, why girl like to have 2 choices? Not sure what you mean. Meg says, how can I reach out? If you want to reach out to me, you can apply for coaching on my page. You can schedule a breakthrough coaching session. Or if I get to it, you could send a DM. But the best way is through applying for coaching. How do you reach out to an ex? that will depend. I always have accountability, intentionality, validation, and a plan. Those 4 things are going to be very important. But it also depends on what led to the breakup and how the breakup went down. Jonathan Lamian says, I tend to really get attracted to people physically attractive. How do I let go of them? Get to the root of why you're pedestalizing this physically attractive person or woman. What is it that you are projecting onto them that you value so much? Because my guess is it's not simply about their beauty. It's something else that you've attributed to them being attractive. Maybe you feel like if they like you back, or if you can earn their love, then you get validated, which means some part of you needs validation from yourself in order to be able to let go of them. Because especially for men who want to date women, you can't, especially if you have trouble getting them, when you idolize them like that, or when you don't see yourself as worthy of them, it doesn't help you get any closer to getting a woman, and it actually makes it harder for you to attract her and keep her. Because if you're coming from this energy that she is so much better than you and you're unworthy of her, it actually repels her. She wants a confident man. I'm gonna have to do this little thing to keep the live going. Sorry, I have to prove I'm still on here, so let me do this real quick. Perfect. This is why it's not so much that women like a bad boy or somebody that treats them poorly. They like some of the qualities that come with bad boys, and that is confidence and self-assuredness. So when you are confident and self-assured in yourself and you don't see a woman as being so much better than you, you can then be more calm when you're approaching them instead of trying to win them over and win their approval. And you just have this more magnetic energy coming off of you. Annalise says, how can I forget her? I need to stop caring about her and checking her socials. I have life. I work out. You do. So what you need to do is you need to block that stuff, mute that stuff, create a new habit or plan of what you're going to do when you get that urge. Because right now you're addicted to her. It's an addiction. And so you have to break that addiction. One way to do that is to replace the unhealthy behavior with a healthy behavior. So instead of looking at her stuff, go for a walk. Instead of looking at her stuff, have a dance party at home. Instead of looking at her stuff, feel the emotion, feel the anxiety, whatever it is that's coming up, and process through that. I can give you so much more if you want to do private coaching with me as well. Ricky Bronson says, so are you going to respond or are you talking to yourself? I don't know who you're talking to, ironically. Nid Snell says, X last text was defamation on my character. I texted back with, let's have a mature conversation. 41 days of no contact now. It's okay. Let it go. Sometimes you have to appear like the bad guy, appear like the villain, and just be okay with that. You don't have to prove yourself to her. Ricky Bronson says, been hearing you for a minute, not replying. I see you. I don't know what you're asking me, Ricky. So, let me see. I know I am supposed to get a call very soon here, so I'm going to have to log off very shortly. Meg says, I'm an avoidant. Okay, already answered that. Annalise, I think I already answered that. Lori says, thank you. Lestria says, may I ask how I can move on without thinking of her on doing my own stuff or doing my own stuff? Is that what you're asking? I think I just answered that question. King N54 says, how do you change an avoidant? You do not change an avoidant. You can never change an avoidant. You can only work on yourself. So get rid of the idea that you can change them. And also dig deeper into why you believe you want to change this person. Why do you want to try to force this person into being who you need them to be instead of just finding somebody who is aligned with what you actually desire. And right now, there is some part of you, your nervous system, your subconscious, your limiting beliefs that says that being with them validates you, that not being loved in the way that you need is normal, that being abandoned is normal. Even when you subconsciously are so afraid of the abandonment, some part of you is also very used to and familiar with it, and that's why you continue to accept and tolerate this behavior. So instead of trying to change them, look into yourself and figure out, how can I change being attracted to this avoidant behavior? And that's where you get the love that you desire. Dante says she offered being friends with me early breakup. Is being friends better, or is no contact's better? Without a doubt. Being friends, again, is just access without the responsibility, and it's going to be painful for you. It's going to not make them see your value, especially like people can maybe eventually be friends. Oftentimes it doesn't work out doing that because you're going to date other people at some point, and it's usually uncomfortable for the other person. But it's really hard to go straight from a relationship into friendship. You need a break. You need some time and space. You need to focus and heal and be on your own if you actually want to try to be friends. Chazu says, Doctor, I've been confused if my partner only sees me as an individual that she loves or free money. Well, that depends on how she's showing up for you and reciprocating to you. What is she nurturing? Is she bringing excitement and value to your life? Is she thankful for what you offer? Nid says, 41 days no contact, last text defamation of my character. I asked mature convo, he never did. Yeah, address that. Oral's Dungeon says, I've been better in living my life, but I still can't get over what he did to me. Okay, so it's not so much about what he did to you, it's about the effect that it had on you. So what part of you is getting triggered by what he did? What part of you feels neglected by you because of how he showed up? What part of you is upset that you accepted that behavior and then let that out? There's also, it sounds like, probably some anger there. I'm not sure if you tend to allow yourself to feel anger, but that's going to be part of the healing process. So this is something I go deep into with my coaching clients as well, but you need to allow yourself to feel the feelings, or you're going to continue to be hung up on this person and not get over what happened in the relationship. King N54 says, how do I get to the root cause of my mindset and grow into the best version of myself? You can do coaching with me. I offer private coaching. The application is on my page, but this is going to be really important for you to heal what is very likely an anxious attachment style and to detach from the avoidant person. So it starts by really doing that inner work and figuring out what is truly driving this behavior. Once you understand that, and I have a lot more deeper videos on my YouTube page too that kind of guides you through this. I just posted a video that was how to heal anxious attachment, the complete guide. But once you figure out what is driving the behavior, then you can start to give yourself the things that it's looking for outside of you. So if you're looking for love and approval from somebody outside of you, where or in what ways are you not giving that to yourself? This is what I was talking about earlier about avoiding emotions. If you keep attracting partners that are avoidant of their emotions and are invalidating or neglectful of yours, it's because some part of you actually doesn't address your own emotions, and some part of you rejects those in yourself. Maybe that is by trying to fix or change the avoidant partner, because as long as your focus is on the avoidant person, then you don't ever have to look at yourself. As long as you can say somebody else is wrong and they're the problem, then you never have to look at the parts that you've been trying to hide your entire life from yourself. And Shame is a very deep-rooted emotion and causes us to neglect and avoid a lot of things that we don't want to address in ourselves, because it makes us feel so bad. But that's where healing comes. You don't change because you're shaming yourself. You change when you actually love and shed light on these parts that you have been neglecting or shaming your entire life. And it's not your fault. You might have had a parent that neglected and shamed those parts of yourself. You may have been told explicitly that you're not allowed to cry, or that you're not allowed to have needs or emotions, or maybe you asked for comfort as a child. You wanted a hug, but your parents didn't give it to you. Maybe your parents gave you silent treatment when they were upset at you. And so now you tolerate partners who give you silent treatment because that's all you know. That's what you've seen as conflict, and resolution wasn't even a thing growing up. Maybe you swept things under the rug. And so now when you have conflict in your relationships, you just ignore the problem. You try to pretend like it didn't happen, because to face it is too scary. It's too uncomfortable or unfamiliar. And you're just repeating what you've been taught. So I hope that answered the question. Meyer says, 2021 says, I was good and then bad, then good again, ? Well, why? Because probably what happened is you thought you were good. Then you got triggered and you realized, oh, I still have all this stuff going on. And then now you're not triggered and you're like, I'm fine again. It's very normal. I've been there too. So many people have been there. I promise it's a normal part of the experience. And you're never going to be 100% perfect. Nobody is perfect. There are going to be things that trigger and bother you, but it's about how you respond and react to them. So if you aren't experiencing or being exposed to something that could trigger you, you're going to think you're okay, when really it's just not being revealed at the time. This is why dating and relationships are so powerful, is because they do reveal those things to you. And you can do a lot of healing with relationships. You can only do so much work on your own, because at some point when you're just on your own, you're not even going to be getting that feedback or that trigger, because nobody's close enough to do that for you. You don't have the fear of losing anybody. But as soon as that person comes in and you're suddenly afraid to lose them, that's when you realize how much you still have to work on, which is great. It's a blessing. That's when you can grow and become even better. That's why every single heartbreak can make you a more powerful person, can make you feel more confident and secure in yourself if you put in the work, if you decide that that's what you want to do, instead of just seeing yourself as a victim of the circumstances. Dante, she offered being friends with me. Early breakup is being friends or no contact. And I answered that and I said no contact. I Love Fun says, he's ignoring my calls and texts out of nowhere, and now he's following a bunch of girls. He does not sound faithful. I would not recommend continuing that relationship, because it sounds like he's not respecting the boundaries of that relationship. Is Just Me says, I feel so bad for my daughter. She saw her boyfriend of 4 years after a 4-month breakup with another girl. Oof, that is very rough. I'm so sorry that she's going through that. But remind her that it doesn't mean that she's not worth anything. It doesn't mean that she's worth any less, or that he didn't love her, or that she's not enough. He could simply be ignoring his own emotions. He could be pretending. You never know. But don't let it mean something about her worth in her eyes, because it just speaks to him. And it doesn't even mean that he's happy or that he likes her more or anything else. Will Byers, can we request a song? I'm not playing any music, unfortunately. TJ said, just got unfollowed from socials 4 months post breakup. That's probably a good thing for both of you. So it could be that she doesn't care anymore, or it could be that she still cares, but she doesn't want to see it. She doesn't want the reminders, or she just wants to ignore. But it's also now giving you the space to focus on yourself instead of her. Adele says she always does a repost on TikTok about everything will be fine, trust God, and me still thinking about her. So we need to enter in a RS with no emotional attachment. How is that? I'm sorry, I'm not 100% sure about what you're asking. But emotional detachment doesn't mean not caring. It doesn't mean not having emotions or not wanting good for somebody else or caring about their well-being. It just means you're not reliant on them for your own happiness. You're not relying on them for validation. You validate yourself, you love yourself, and you don't rely on them for something that should be coming from inside. Amiri says, amen, doctor. Thank you. Manuel says, Manuel Lobos. Person keeps unblocking and blocking daily, but also hard for me to block them myself. Why is it hard to block them yourself? Amiri says, is it possible to overlove somebody? It's possible. When we talk about overlove, my guess is that that's actually attachment. And that can be very unhealthy when you have an unhealthy attachment. So if you're trying to love them so much because you need something from them subconsciously, because many people aren't aware of it, because you want their validation or you want to prove or feel like you are worthy of love, that's when it becomes unhealthy. If it's pure love is detached, which means it doesn't rely on them for anything in return. That doesn't mean that you have a relationship without boundaries. You still have boundaries. But real love is freedom. So loving somebody too much, I don't think that exists. But being overly attached to someone 100% exists. Giving them too much can be hurtful as well, if that's what you mean too. My husband and his family kicked me out, and then he breadcrumbed me for 8 months until now. That's Larissa Rosie. Man, I'm so sorry. That sounds so painful. Don't accept the breadcrumbs. Focus on your healing. You were disrespected by him and the family, and you deserve to be with a person who also has a family that respects you. So I would not go back to that situation. King N54 says, thank you, Dr. Lilli. We'll be checking out your recent YouTube videos. Thank you so much. I think they'll be really helpful. I promise. Larissa says, he said he wants less contact and never reached out again since November 6th. It sounds like there's a lot that happened here. And I can't speak to all of that. I would recommend either a breakthrough coaching session or applying for my coaching program to really get more insight on this. But it sounds like this is not a healthy relationship, so something has to change. Imim, I recognize your name. Thank you for the rose too. We just recently broke up, but I already saw my ex in a dating app. They're probably avoiding. They're probably distracting themselves. They are not looking for something serious. They just want to feel better and not feel the pain of the breakup. Sarcastic says, do you believe in love at first sight? I don't believe in love at first sight. I don't believe you can love anybody at first sight. What are you loving? I think you can feel connection. I think you can feel attraction for somebody. I think you can feel desire at first sight. But to me, real love comes from knowing the person. It comes from knowing exactly who they are, their heart, the kind of person that they are. I believe you can feel a strong connection with another person, but to really love them, you need to know who they are. Candy says, my ex broke no contact with me and hoped that I was doing well. Then last night he told me to stop talking to him, but couldn't give me an explanation. I'm not sure. My guess is he was probably more the avoidantly attached partner in this situation. He doesn't know what he wants. He's scared. He probably felt vulnerable from reaching out to you and then needed to retreat more. So I would recommend continuing with the no contact. Rachel Caroline says, I can't breathe or eat or sleep. Been dumped really hard. Can you help? I absolutely can help. I've helped clients who have been going through panic attacks, crying all day, can barely function, eat or sleep. I would love to help you. I know that I can. And usually, all of my clients that follow what I do and what I teach in my coaching will feel significantly better by 4 weeks. Definitely better within 1 or 2 weeks, but like there's a huge difference at 4 weeks, and then we keep going and it just gets better and better. So I would love to help. And again, start with no contact. Highly recommend that. No contact emergency kit. It's totally free. It's on my page. And apply for coaching. And yes, there's so much. I have stuff on my YouTube channel, totally free, if you want to start there. But I recommend, like, if you want to feel better immediately, like very quickly, if you don't want to continue going through the pain, our work together, you will feel better very fast, as long as you're putting in the energy and the effort and you're wanting to do that. MM says, I told her to block me on socials, but she says that she can't block me yet. Why? Depending on what happened in this relationship, I would say that she's still attached. She still wants to know what's up in your life. She maybe wants you to see what she's doing too. I'm not sure. But you can block her. So why can't you block her? Maybe it's the same reason that she feels like she can't block you. Adele says, I don't need her to be happy. I'm happy on my own, yet I want her to be with me. Is it still attachment? It depends. I don't think that's enough information to tell you if that's attachment or not. Candy says he is. I Love Fun says, what if you've seen them in a dream before you guys even met? That's really interesting. I think that's super cool. I think that there is a connection there, a spiritual connection, maybe even like a past life connection, and that's really powerful. But to me, true, real love comes from knowing a person. Again, I think you can feel that connection and there can be a spark and energy between you. But that's just my opinion. Manuel Lobos says, rates for coaching. So if you want to just do the breakthrough coaching session, it's on sale right now for $249. If you want to do the full program, I have different tiers basically depending on your needs. So you can apply for coaching. We do a free consultation and we talk about that there, but that can range from $2,700 to $5,000 for the full coaching program. Rachel Caroline says, but you can always just apply and I can get a feel for what you need and we can figure out what's best for you. Rachel Caroline says, yes, it's no contact. 1 month ago, he bought an engagement ring and then dumped me out of the blue. So, wow, that is crazy. That is so unexpected. I'm so sorry. That must have been so painful and difficult for you. I can't imagine how that's going. Also, I have had clients who were fresh out of an engagement as well, going through that same intense pain. I have some testimonials on my page too, so it doesn't have to feel this way forever. And I'm so sorry that you're going through all of that, and there's probably so much confusion and so many emotions there that is just really hard to parse through, especially on your own. MM says, I do the blocked unblocked pattern, that's why I want her to block me instead. Okay. It sounds like maybe you're playing some games. There's some reason why you can't keep her blocked. So that's where the actual healing starts. Okay, I do have to log off in like a minute, so let me try to get through these real quick. Nathan says, miss my dismissive void ex. She blocked me on TikTok after 2 weeks, no contact for like no reason. That's good. That's good for both of you. Don't think too much into that. Sabrina says, I dated a guy who lived in the Congo. I'm from Belgium. He treated me very well, 4 dates, but went back to the Congo and had a little contact for 8 days. And then he stopped texting me, no good morning. Why? Maybe because he figured that long distance was too difficult. Maybe he met somebody else. Maybe he got scared and liked you too much and decided to dip out because it scared him. But either way, it sounds like he ghosted you out of nowhere, and you deserve a partner who doesn't do that, who is emotionally available and mature and won't do that, will actually talk to you. So you dodged a bullet there. Okay, I got to the end. So thank you all so, so much for listening. I'm going to put the recording on my YouTube channel as well. And then I do these lives every Friday. So I would love to see you all again and answer more questions. And the free no contact emergency kit is on my page. I also have a no contact survival guide and so much more on YouTube. And I would love to speak with you. You can apply for coaching or just grab a breakthrough coaching session. All right. Bye. Thank you.